Good afternoon, folks. Larry Miles here in Louisville again. I'm going to do a lesson now in my series on the Restoration Movement called Isaac Errett and the Christian Standard. Isaac Errett was born in New York City, January the 2nd, 1820. His father died in 1825. His mother remarried and moved the family to Pittsburgh, 1832. They identified with the Church of Christ there. 1833, Isaac and his older brother Russell accepted the ancient gospel and were immersed into Christ by Elder Robert McLaren. They became faithful members of the church in Pittsburgh. Some of the preachers that came to minister there were Thomas and Alexander Campbell and Walter Scott. Isaac Errett gave his first discourse on April the 21st, 1839. He was set apart as an evangelist on June 18th, 1840. Between 1840 and 1844, he ministered with the congregation that met on Smithfield Street in Pittsburgh. In 1844 and 49, he labored with the saints in New Lisbon, Ohio. This congregation was where Walter Scott first proclaimed the ancient gospel of the Western on the Western Reserve. The years 1849 to 1856 found Errett laboring with the congregations in New Bloomfield and in Warren, Ohio. Between 56 and 62, he resided in Lyons, Michigan. 1857, he became the corresponding secretary for the American Christian Missionary Society. 1861, he became a co-editor of the Millennial Harbinger. Excuse me, allergies bother me. 1861, the Civil War broke out. Whether the brethren should take up arms was an important question of the time. Men like McGarvey felt that Christians should not participate in carnal warfare. This is also the position of Tolbert Fanning and of David Lipscomb in the South. McGarvey tried to get Isaac Errett to throw his support against Christian engaged in war. He refused. The cause of the Union was too dear to him. 1862, he began his labors with the church in Detroit. It was soon afterwards that he published a document, what he called a synopsis of the faith and practices of the Church of Christ. Errett compiled this to let the community know about the Church of Christ. This was at once condemned by some as a creed. Many opposed it. Ben Franklin published it and spoke out against it in his paper, The American Christian Review. The strongest condemnation came from Moses E. Lard in Lard's Quarterly. The editor wrote these words in September of 1863. And it's a long quote, but I'll read it to you anyway. There's not a sound man in our ranks who has not seen the synopsis that has not felt scandalized about it. I wish we possessed even one decent apology for its appearance. It is a deep offense against the brotherhood, an offense tossed into the teeth of the people who for 40 years have been working against the divisive and evil tendency of creeds. We are told that this declaration is not to be taken as a creed, but will this caveat present its being taken so? Never. When Aaron's calf came out and he called it a bird, still all Israel, seeing it was a cat, it stand on four legs with horns and parted hoofs, would have shouted, a calf, a calf, a calf. The brethren may call their work in classic phrase a synopsis or gently a declaration, but still we cry a creed, a creed, a creed. It is not the mere title of the work that constitutes is a creed, but its matter and form, together with the manner in which it was issued and the sanctions by which it is accomplished. It has painful significance, painful because symptomatic of the following items. 1. that some of our brethren have lost their well-grounded opposition to creeds and are ready to traffic in these unholy things. This indicates a diseased state of body. How far this disease extends will be seen by the extent to which synopsis is endorsed. 2, that these brethren are no longer willing to be styled heretics for the truth's sake, but now wish to avoid that odium by adopting the customs and views of the sects of the day, thus becoming themselves the sect. 3, that what the world needs in order to learn the faith of these brethren is not the Bible alone, but the Bible and a synopsis of their faith and practice. With them, then, the Bible is the insufficient enlightener of the human family. For all these symptoms of degeneracy in our brotherhood will feel something more than regret. They will feel profoundly ashamed, end quote. In the text of the pamphlet itself, Errett stated that it was not to be taken as a creed. He was opposed to creeds. He wrote these words: "This declaration of our faith and aims is not taken as a creed. We assume no right to bind the conscience with any stereotyped formula. Vital religion is a thing of growth in the heart of the individual Christian. We design a mere statement for general information of the purpose which induced us to band together and the principles we propose to develop. We have no sectarian shackles with which to bind Christ free men, no spiritual position or prison house for the confinement of the soul. We present no authoritative statement of interpretation of the Bible. The spirit that indicated the word can best bring home to the heart significance of its truths. The practice of divine precepts furnishes the best interpretation. We repudiate all human authority in spiritual concerns, Matthew 23, 8-12, and John 7, 16 and 17, end quote. 865 plans were made for issuing a Christian periodical called the Christian Standard. Nearly all the papers published a prospectus except the Gospel Advocate. Right in January 24th, 1867 issue of the Advocate, David Lipscomb wrote and told why the Advocate could not support the aims of the Standard. The Standard is edited with ability and in a fair and liberal spirit. It is the only weekly that is an advocate of the organization of human societies in religion, whether from a refusal upon the part of the conductors or not. Articles upon but one side of the question ever appear in the Standard, end quote. April 7th, 1866, the initial issue of the Christian Standard came off the press. Isaac Errett was the editor. The title was chosen by Isaac Errett. The masthead of the Standard bears this statement: "We propose to lift up the Christian Standard as a rallying point for the scattered host of spiritual Israel to know only Jesus Christ and Him crucified, His cross, His world, His church, His ordinances, His laws, in the interest of His kingdom." The Christian Standard was to come out in favor of the Missionary Society and in favor of instrumental music in the corporate worship of the saints. It was noted that the Standard we know it today, and that was written in 1979 or 80, is not associated with the Christian Church Disciples of Christ, who practice their mission work through the United Missionary Society and other organizations. The Christian Standard was first published from Cleveland, Ohio, on July 31st, 1869. The first issue of the Standard was published in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's remained in Cincinnati till this day. Isaac Errett continued to edit the Christian Standard until his death, December 9th, 1888. In the next lesson we're going to do in the next few days, we'll have part 1 about the life of David Lipscomb. So thanks for watching this. Hope it came through all right. So thanks for watching and having an interest in history.